Hi, Chatori.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Today we will speak about your piece, Sakana Satellite. Can you give maybe short background of the piece? Who commissioned, when it was played, for whom it was written or created?
Yes, this piece was commissioned by Hochschule für Musik, Karl Maria von Weber in Dresden in 2021. It was during the height of the Corona pandemic. Of course, like many other parts of Europe, Dresden had quite a strict regulations on how schools and businesses could continue operate. And the commission of the piece was fully supported by the Hochschule, the festival Dresden Lange Nacht der Wissenschaften, and as well as the municipality government of the city of Dresden. So with their support, we could have daily testings, COVID testings before the rehearsals. We had a rehearsal space outdoors, and we could also use the city's open air rugby stadium called the Heinz-Steyer Stadium. So yeah, this piece it takes place in two locations. One is the Konzertsaal, that's the concert hall of the Hochschule, and that's where the conductor and the audience is. And another location where all of the singers are, that's the Heinz-Steyer Stadion, about 1 kilometer apart from each other. Um, in the stadium, each singer was standing, I think, about 1.5 meters apart from each other in a circle. Um, Everyone was holding a smartphone in front of them with their hands, connected to a video conference meeting. In the music hall, the audience looked at a real-time projection of a video conference meeting. In this case, it was Zoom, and they heard the real-time singing of the singers, as well as a mixed and pre-recorded electronics.
And what was the concept of the piece?
Yes, the concept of the piece, it for Sakana Satellite, actually, it stems from my own experience in the early stages of the COVID pandemic. So I'm sure that in the beginning of the crisis, there were a lot of fear to this unknown virus, which was on the news, 24/7. And during the course of things, I think some people, that fear of the virus led to anger towards East Asians like me. So at that time, I was living in Dresden, and as a East Asian person, I really felt the shift in how people in Dresden viewed me when I was walking on the streets or doing groceries in a supermarket. So for me, any confrontation was a verbal one, but I know several people, several of my acquaintances who were physically confronted because of their ethnicity. Now, that's about the time where the German government issued a rule that everyone had to wear a face mask indoors. And I know that there were a lot of dissatisfaction from the citizens, many reasons, but one being that it's difficult to breathe, which I do agree to a certain extent. Yes, of course, it's difficult to breathe under a mask. But at the same time, I know that some people who feared confrontation because of their ethnicity were kind of mentally and emotionally suffocating by trying to suppress their ethnicity and try to be invisible in society to avoid needless confrontation for being East Asian. So yeah, going back to Sakana Satellite, this work expresses the sensation of breathing, conversing, singing while submerged underwater, and the sound, including the live audio for the singers, as well as the pre-recorded electronics tracks. They're all designed to be as if the sound is traveling through water.
Mhm. Got it. Got it. And is there some central message of the piece? or message what communicates the piece?
Mm, I usually don't put a central message on my compositions. For me, most of my compositions stem from my own experience, but I'm not the one judging whether this is good or bad. Um, I view my compositions, including Sakana Satellite, as an equivalent of a historical painting. Um, there are many paintings depicting historical events, I think. Um, yeah, like the French Revolution by Eugene Delacroix, or Toshu Shogetsu's painting of the arrival of Perry in Yokohama. Yeah, so um, the message is not really an importance here. I'm hoping that Sakana Satellite is viewed as a sort of a historical painting for the year 2021, which is a reflection of a lived experience by me.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's a reflective experience by you living in COVID times.
Yes.
Got it. And so uh, from somebody who experienced the piece, right, sitting in that hall. So what kind of sensorial experience was? So one was a screen, right, and then there was a speakers, or what kind of media or what you use?
Um, for the audience sitting in the concert hall, of course, there was a giant screen in the on the stage. A conductor was facing a small smartphone connected to Zoom, and he was conducting the singers about a kilometer apart. Zoom. I believe there were the in the concert hall. So it's a spatial piece. So each of the channel had different audio.
And how many channels there was?
I believe 6.1.
And so how long was the piece?
The piece is about 10 minutes long.
And is it have one section, or is there several sections or several parts, or how it evolves during the time?
Um, yeah, it's a one section piece. And while I've said that it's about a 10-minute piece, this piece can go longer or shorter depending on the singers, because although the conductor is conducting some parts of it,
Yes.
many of the things are not notated in the metronomic method. So the conductor didn't conduct for most of the pieces. He was just giving cues at times in numbers with his fingers, at times with hand gestures, and usually the vocal part lasted until the end of each singer's breath, until they ran out of breath. So yeah, depending on the singer's size of the lungs, so to speak. Yeah, the piece could have been 8 minutes, it could have been 12 minutes. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And and what kind of sensors or hardwares were used for creating and playing the piece and performing?
Sensors. There were no sensors used in the piece. For the electronics, most of the sounds were recorded sounds of the instruments,
Hmm.
like classical instruments, or a field recording of nature sounds.
Yes.
And the sound of the underwater is actually from a hydrophone I had access to 10 years ago, over 10 years ago in Japan. So the sounds actually wasn't recorded for the specific piece. Um, yeah, I have a whole load of library of recorded sounds in my hard drive, many of them field recordings and instrumental sounds. So yeah, I've mixed them, um, kind of edited, cut and paste the electronics.
Yes. And let's understand, right? There was from hardware parts, there was at least several ones. One was smartphone, right? Then there was this
Yes.
projector, most
Mm,
probably camera, or how you use Zoom,
yes.
you said, right? What was used in performance?
I see, I see. In the performance, yes, everyone had a smartphone with the Zoom app inside. And because there were 80 singers, that's a quite a lot of number to be connected to data, to the internet at the same time in one place. So I believe that the Hochschule as well as the city of Dresden, they prepared a 5G router for all of the singers so that the connection would be smooth.
Yes.
We also had a drone for the drone footage, and this is actually not something that I instructed in my score. It was the Hochschule which prepared the drone, which I'm very happy about.
Hmm. And all those 80 singers, right? Did they sit in one place, or there was in different?
The 80 singers were standing in circles
Yes.
in, on the rugby field or pitch, if you call it that way. Yeah, and they didn't move. The 80 singers didn't move. And there were also two runners with a snorkel on their face running around the tracks. And for that, I just wanted the sound effects of gasping and trying to breathe.
Got it. Got it. And communication between these two hosts was mostly Zoom, right? As I understand. So Zoom was the way how each how audience saw the singers, right? And how singers saw conductor.
Yes, that's right.
And the sound as well traveled through Zoom, or it was somehow different.
Yes, the sound also traveled through Zoom. The sound of the singers traveled through Zoom. And it actually sounds like we are underwater. It actually sounds like we're conversing and singing submerged underwater. So, yeah, that is the reason I decided to use the raw audio from Zoom.
Got it. Got it. And can you imagine the same piece, but let's say not using Zoom?
Mm, not using Zoom. So, again, as I've said, I view my works as historical paintings.
Yes.
And because at that time, Zoom was, um, yeah, I think I've only used Zoom for communication, for meetings or to chat with my friends. So, yeah, I think Zoom has a very, very strong concept, or it, using Zoom has a very strong meaning, which reflects the COVID times.
Got it. And can you imagine the piece, right? The same piece, but let's say the scores and the sound, everything stays, but it all happens in the same hall, not in two different places. And the sound is not sent via internet. Would it be possible that it would make sense? That works well.
I see. If the singers in the same space, I believe that the raw voice would inevitably reach the audience too. And I actually used Zoom in a way to morph the raw sounds. I know that from the point of view of a sound engineer, perhaps the sound quality was very much deducted from the raw audio. But actually, that's one of my concepts, that it's difficult to hear. It's as if we're underwater. So yes, it's difficult for me to imagine a concert which happens in one place with the singers and the audience.
Got it. Um, and how did you collaborate with singers and for creating the piece?
Collaboration with the singers. Mm, we had several sessions, well, several rehearsals where I had some ideas and we tried out some stuff. For example, one of the vocal techniques that I use is plosive consonants. It's like making this pop sound with our lips. That needed some practice. So yes, in the workshop, we've practiced that together. We've also explored several different techniques, vocal techniques. For example, humming a pitch while lightly tapping the throat. Yeah, so in this piece, of course, I could have done it myself too, but it was very important to listen to each of the voices from the singers and how it kind of morphed with a not so conventional technique applied.
Mm-hmm. And how is this cooperation or rehearsals did it somehow shape the piece or did it change the piece from initial idea or
Mm, so when the score was done, when the score was finished, um, the conductor really helped me, tried his best to realize the piece as much as possible. At the same time, he also gave me some ideas. In the beginning, I imagined the conductor to have colored hands. Maybe his right hand would be blue and his left hand would be colored red, so that um, the singers seeing the conductor on Zoom, they could instantly notice when the blue hand is up, it's the right hand. When the red hand is up, it's the left hand. Because sometimes on screens, the right and the left switch. It can be mirrored. Yeah, so that was my initial idea. But the conductor actually gave me great ideas. For example, just use fingers and show the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. This can also be cues. So musically, I don't think it has changed during the course of the rehearsals, but the implementation aspect definitely has changed for a more conventional one, and also regarding the technologies, what's possible and what's not possible. Yeah, we had to we had to see with the conductor and the Hochschule as well as the city of Dresden what was possible during the course of rehearsal.
mm-hmm. And what you find out what wasn't possible and what there was some kind of ideas which couldn't be realized or implemented as well.
Hmm. Yes. For the running part, maybe I was imagining not two people, but maybe everyone running together on the tracks. 80 people. This was my initial idea at the very beginning, starting stages of the compositional process. Yeah, that was, I don't really remember the reason, but that was not, yeah, it didn't come to reality.
Mm-hmm. And how long it took for you to create the piece, and what was the main stages you went through?
Mm, the piece, I believe it took about 2 months to complete. Um, the most difficult phase of this composition, the most challenging phase was to know what was possible um, in the harsh regulations implemented by the city of Dresden. So I believe that in the initial stages, we couldn't really rehearse together in an indoor space too. So I had to wait until the outdoor space was available to us. In the beginning, we didn't know whether we could use Zoom, 80, all 80 of us to use Zoom until the Hochschule in the city of Dresden helped us with the 5G router. So yeah, the most challenging process was to see, to realize my idea within the boundaries of what's possible and what's not.
Mhm. And the last question, what would be your suggestion for composers who have never done these network pieces, but they would like to try? What would be your suggestion?
My suggestion, I believe that when using technologies, there are inevitably many things happen which um, are not which can't be foreseen. So I believe that first we really should have a big budget, so that if plan A fails, plan B is there, and if plan B fails, plan C fails as well. There's plan C as well. So yeah, I believe that when we use technology in this magnitude, I believe that we need some kind of a sponsor, a backup, who can help us with all of the equipment.
Mhm. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for this interview.
Thank you.